Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a new video. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys 5 overlooked original Xbox games that you guys can try or pick up for your collection. Now I feel like sometimes the original Xbox is a little bit overlooked in general just because the PS2 is so popular, and of course that goes the same with the games that are in the library itself. But again, like I said, these are, I would say, 5 overlooked games, just in my opinion, that I feel like just don't really talk about all that much. So we'll go ahead and get into the first game we have here. So this one I just have a disc of, but this is called Dead Man's Hand. So this game I didn't really know too much about when I had first gotten it. I saw it for pretty cheap. I think I got it for like $5 or something like that. But this is a FPS game. This is developed by Human Head Studios and is published by Atari. So this is kind of a gunslinger FPS game, a little bit more arcadey in my opinion, or I guess it's a little bit more arcadey of an FPS game. You kind of just go through levels, and then kind of enemies will spawn, like out of specific areas, and then you have to gun them down. Also some pretty other cool levels. For example, there's a very cool level where you're actually on horseback, and that one's kind of like a rail shooter at some points, but that's probably one of the best missions in the game. Super cool. So like I said, it's just kind of a gunslinger game, pretty cool FPS. It's got decent enough graphics for the original Xbox. Still looks pretty decent nowadays. It has some good challenge to it. A little bit clunky, I guess, or a little bit cheesy, I guess, in terms of some of the challenge. I did beat this game on hard, but it actually wasn't too bad. But like I said, it has some very cool levels. Definitely people don't talk about this one too much, but definitely recommend this one. And the story is actually a little bit cool too. You're kind of betrayed by your friends, or you're kind of betrayed by the gang that you're in, so you have to get revenge on them, and that's pretty much what each level is, you getting revenge back on the gang that kind of crossed you. So pretty cool. That is Dead Man's Hand. And then the next game we have here is a game called Crimson Sea. So this one is developed and published by Koei. So Koei makes a lot of like Chinese Warriors games, and of course the Dynasty Warriors games is what they're most known for. And this one's kind of in the same style, except this one is an RPG game. But I would say the combat is pretty similar in terms of it is hack and slash at some times, but there is also weapons, or I should say guns in the game that you can use. And it's actually pretty in-depth in terms of the RPG components. But basically you play as a kid, or I guess he's like a young man, but he's a private detective and he gets hired by an intergalactic company essentially. I haven't actually beat this one yet, but I'm very excited to get to the end of it. But every level is a little bit different. You have some like escort missions. You have some levels where you just have to kill a bunch of enemies, and in the same fashion of Dynasty Warriors, you have to wipe out a lot of enemies at a time, but like I said, pretty cool. So it's like hack and slash RPG, lots of cool I would say like upgrade systems, or ways to upgrade like specific weapons. If you want to play a certain play style, you can do like a gun route, or you can do more like a hack and slash sort of thing. So pretty cool in terms of upgrades and like choices you can make in terms of playing the game. But yeah, so pretty cool like space game in general. I definitely recommend it. The only thing I would say bad about it is like there's like tank controls in the game, so it's a little bit hard to get used to, or when you first play it, I would say it's a little bit hard to get used to. But other than that, I would say it's actually a pretty cool game, and like I said, definitely overlooked. And then the next game we have here is actually one that I streamed on my channel the very first time, or I think it was my first stream ever on my channel. This is called Enclave. So this one is developed by Starbreeze, and is published by Conspiracy Games. So this is a third-person RPG game. I feel like people often will compare this or will say it's kind of like the first Dark Souls game. I wouldn't say it's quite like Dark Souls. I guess it can be hard in the same kind of sense, but it wasn't too bad. I feel like Dark Souls is much harder, and of course the mechanics are a little bit different. But basically you go through different levels. You have different missions in every level, but basically you wipe out, I think they're orcs or something like that. I can't remember quite what the story is of the game, but you play as a guy, you go through different missions. Of course you're killing orcs and stuff like that. Pretty cool. You have like a cool upgrade system. If you find money in the different levels, you can use that money to buy different equipment. So you can buy like crossbows, you can buy bows, different types of swords, and then of course like different types of like two-handed weapons, single-handed weapons. This one I would say in terms of the gameplay, a little bit clunky at times. Of course it looks pretty good on the original Xbox, but like most older games, the play style, or I guess the controls, can be a little clunky at times, and this one's no exception, but still pretty fun, and like I said, pretty decent graphics. Definitely recommend this one if you want to play like an RPG game or fun third-person RPG game. I think it's got remastered at some point for Switch, if I'm not mistaken, or on like newer platforms. So maybe if you want to play like a newer version of it, I would go check it out on there as well. So that is Enclave. And then the next one we have here, a little bit different of a taste, but this is Apex. So this is exclusive for Xbox. Now, I believe this game is called something different in Europe. I believe it's called Racing Evolution. So I think that's just like the European name for it. But of course, in America, it's just Apex, or in North America, it's just Apex. So this one is published by Atari, and it's developed by a company called Milestone. So this is a racing game. One of the main aspects of this game that's a little bit unique in terms of this one is there's a specific mode where basically you can, get new cars and stuff like that. And basically you have to build like an empire, or like a car empire, where you have to like sell some cars, sell cars, and then like upgrade them, or I guess you could say like customize them and sell them, and basically just grow your empire. And like I said, I believe it's called Dream Mode or something like that. I played only a little bit of it so far, but actually what I saw of it was actually, or what I played of it is actually pretty fun. So that's why I decided to put it here on the list. I would say the racing itself in this game is more like arcadey, not quite on the terms of like, or I wouldn't say it's like as great of a racing game as like maybe like Project Gotham racing or something like that, but still pretty fun. And like I said, feels a little bit arcadey, but the graphics in this game are actually pretty good. I would say it has pretty good graphics for the time, and still looks pretty good. I have an HDMI converter, so I mean, it looks pretty good when I play it on my modern TV. So that is Apex. And then the next one we have here, this is called Raises Hell. So this one, I guess you consider it like not so much a platformer. I guess it's more a third-person shooter. But this one was published by Majesco and developed by Arctech Studios. But basically, you play as this guy. His name is Raise. And he's like a monster, basically, but he goes around shooting these cute little creatures. I think they're called quellets or something like that. It has sort of like an environmental theme going on in it, where, you're kind of trying to get back at the little guys who are kind of, like destroying the world and stuff like that. So kind of like a funny theme. Definitely goes with like the humor of some of the like platformers and some of the weirder games, I would say, like on original Xbox, kind of like Dr. Muto, stuff like that, and like Voodoo Vince, along the same lines of that kind of thing. So it has a pretty cool, or pretty humorous little story in the background, but it's actually a fun third-person shooting game. You can like roll around and stuff like that. That's like one of the main mechanics, and then you're, like shooting, of course, the little creatures, and when you shoot the creatures, they kind of like explode in like bloody messes. So it looks cute at times, and then of course, then it gets kind of gory. Now, I believe this one is also exclusive to the original Xbox, much like with Apex. I would say Enclave also. I don't believe that was exclusive. That was on PC. For Crimson Sea, that is exclusive to the original Xbox. And Dead Man's Hand, I don't believe that one was exclusive. I believe that one you could also play on PC. So I believe 3 of these games out of the total are actually exclusive, or were original Xbox exclusives. I'm sure you can play them now in different places, but again, they were original Xbox exclusives back in the day. So that's pretty cool that they got this kind of game there. But that is all the games that I have. Let me know if you have played any of these games. Let me know which one is your favorite. And I hope you guys like this video. Let me know if you want to see one of these in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next one.